rings, we pound for pound. UFC thrills, stills nights get loud. Big EQB, that's how we get down.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the GRP. Back at it again on a Thursday. Watching some fights as we speak because the PFL tournament is on its first night tonight. So we got some live fights while the show's on. It's kind of crazy. And that tends to happen with PFL because they have fights during the week on Thursday. So yeah, I'm just watching that. Right now we got Kennedy versus Kabuleyev, I believe, in the featherweight division. So yeah, it's about a minute and a half left in the first round. So we got that going on. I got the TV on because I'm like, well, I might as well have the fights going while I'm doing the show, just to take a peek every now and again, get some live updates, I guess. But yeah, we're back, ready to go. It looks like I have, yeah, I do. What the hell happened here? My background is off a little bit for some reason. So I'm closing that up. There we go. That's weird. It looks like it was just the video I had on there. Okay. Anyway, just little things I noticed. Getting distracted over here. But yeah, this week, nothing too crazy this week. I did go out of town for work in the beginning of the week, and I got caught up. I mean, it was just overnight, and the work wasn't too bad. The stay wasn't too bad, but I forgot my power supply for my laptop, so didn't get anything done with that because my battery, everything I do on my laptop for the podcast, which is all I would do with it, is to prep, and everything I do will just eat the battery. So and because I have it plugged in all the time, I probably haven't taken the best care of the battery on this thing, so it doesn't last long. But that's how laptops are. I don't know, unless I just have bad luck. But so I didn't do any prep work or anything like that. I just kind of did some stuff on my phone, and that was about it. But anyway, the next day, on the way home, I got caught up in some shit because there was a gigantic accident on the highway while it's a school bus. So that's what made it big because, yeah, there was a school bus that rolled over, which that's crazy. And oddly enough, it was from the city I was coming from, Kingman, Arizona. I was doing some work out there, and that's where the bus was from, which is strange. A weird coincidence, but luckily nobody passed away as far as I know as of now, but some people were hurt. It was, there was like 32 kids or something on the high school kids, and some of them got, pretty seriously injured, but no one passed away, so that's good. So hopefully everyone's okay now and heals up fast, and we'll be all right. But that was kind of crazy. So I trying to take detours and stuff, and it would get caught up in traffic, stuck it added an extra hour to an hour and a half to my drive, maybe more even. I don't even know. I kind of just tried to just put it out of my brain that I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to have to just sit here and little by little inch forward. I mean, I went less than 2 miles. It took me an hour to get less than 2 miles. So that's how backed up things were. Pretty shitty, but I made it back home later than I thought. But and the other thing was there was an issue with one of the guy I went to work with out there. His vehicle had a problem. The key broke in his pocket. I can't really blame him, but yeah. So the key breaks, no spare. So we had to do some running around to get a replacement key. So that took extra time too. I was already 2 hours into my drive on my way home. So basically almost halfway home, and I had to turn around and go back so I could help him out. But I'm not going to leave my guys stranded. So of course, I'm going to go back and see, what we can do. So we got that handled. That was the drama for the the day we were supposed to be driving back. And then the accident stuff happens and we get stuck. So fun stuff, but the adventures of traveling for work, it's never the best. I don't get to go to cool places either, so that kind of sucks. Some scenery every once in a while, but the drives are crazy. but I don't have to. I haven't been having to go lately, so that was the first trip in a while. So I can't complain too much. But yeah, it was not too bad of a time, and got it all done. And work's been not so bad for the rest of the week. So now we're here, Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. I'm happy about that. And we're just ready to go. We got a lot of fights happening this weekend. As I said, right now, PFL is on live right now. So they're the beginning of, they're not doing seasons anymore. They're just going straight into tournaments. So I just know, never mind. So now it's not, they don't have to go through like multiple fights before they get to the tournament. So that's good because it relieves them from having to, get injured and stuff like that beforehand. But there's an issue with the end result of the payment and stuff like that. So we'll get into that a little bit when I go over it in Combat Sports News. Right now I'm watching what might be the finish of this fight. Somebody throwing some elbows at the moment. But so yeah, we got PFL happening today. We have BKFC tomorrow and Saturday. I think One Championship has events tomorrow and Saturday, I think. The UFC is happening on Saturday. So there's a lot of fighting going on this weekend. BKFC with two events. It's they do that every once in a while, and I know One Championship does that a lot too. So lots of stuff happening, but lots of fights to cover and lots of fights to talk about. I got to start paying more attention to a lot more than the UFC because there's so much going on. When the GFL starts, it's going to be hectic because the GFL is going to have multiple day events. So we'll talk about that because they announced the lineups and the matchups for the first fights that they're going to have for their first events, and 2 days in a row. So Saturday and Sunday events, that's going to be kind of nuts. But it's going to be fun. So we'll, on top of the UFC and PFL just started, and I gotta try to pay more attention because I've neglected the PFL because of all the issues with, of course I like watching the fights and stuff, but the things that they've changed and the things that they've done kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit, I guess. So I kind of just like put it out of my mind. One Championship, same thing, issues with fighters and pay and all kinds of other stuff, and it's been pretty shitty. So I kind of just put it out of my mind too. But the UFC has their problems, but that's my passion. I mean, as you can see, everything behind me, it's like the UFC has been my thing for a long time. So that's mainly what I cover, but I'm into everything else too. I just don't follow it as closely, but I'm gonna try to get into it a little more this time around with all of these new things starting up, and I want to cover everything too and talk about it here. So gotta have to dedicate a little more time to it, but that's all right. Fights are fights, and it's fun to watch fights and to see who might be a possibility to make a run in the UFC once they get done in whatever organization they're in, because that's what winds up happening. A lot of people move over and things like that happen. So next weekend is UFC 3. What are we at now? 14? Is it 314? I think it is. I should remember this, but I've been blocking. Yeah, it is 314. I've been blocking this one out because I'm a little bit upset because it's gonna be a damn good fight card, and I won't be home to do a watch party, which is the funnest thing to do. But I'm also not gonna be home to watch it, so I'm gonna be with my phone in my hand, being a dick while I'm watching fights while I'm at a music festival. But it is what it is. I got to do what I got to do, and I am that guy sometimes. I try not to do it during big crazy things that are happening, like if I'm at a wedding or something like that. That doesn't happen often, but dinners and stuff, I have my phone set up and I'm watching. I'm sorry, I have to. I'm a fanatic, I guess. So yeah, and I mean, I don't know what kind of service I'll have out there. Sometimes service is pretty shitty while we're out there because there's so many people. But last year wasn't so bad, so who knows? Maybe I'll pop up and do a little something during prelims or during the main card. I don't know. We'll see what happens. That's like prime time for the biggest concerts that are happening out there too. So I'll probably be in the venue, which means it'll be harder to do. Lots of noise, very loud. Maybe won't do anything during that, but yeah, I'll be there. and I'll be there for the weekend. So yeah, no watch party, which is upsetting because it's going to be a damn good fight card with that main man, Diego Lopez versus Alexander Volkanovski, Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett, Bryce Mitchell versus Sean Silva, Yair Rodriguez versus Patricio Pitbull, Nikita Krylov versus Dominic Reyes. That's a hell of a main card. So, and it just tends to happen. I watched Khabib fight when he fought L.I. Quinta. I was at the same music festival watching on my phone while it was buffering and shit because the service is so bad out there. But I'm a huge Khabib fan, so I was doing that then. But yeah, that's next weekend. So yeah, no big deal. I'm still gonna watch it. I'm still gonna have a show. We're gonna cover it. We're gonna talk about all that next week on Thursday, before I head out to that festival. So while I'm upset that I don't get to do a watch party or something like that, I'm still happy that I'll get to watch. I buy every event and I'll watch it later if I have to miss it or whatever. It is what it is. That's what I do. So anyway, that's it for updates on me and all the other little stuff. Before I get too far, I will say thank you to my sponsor, Noctane smelling salts. Yeah, they're fun. I talk about them all the time. It's what we always do on the watch parties. I use it every day, especially when I'm driving out of town, keep myself awake and alert. And that's what they're good for. And then if you're like a power lifter or anything like that, a lot of them use it to get that quick adrenaline rush before doing it. Go to their website, hit that QR code, or click on the link in the description, and you can check out their website. Very informative, very appealing to the eye, and just fun to read about it. Check it out. 3 levels of potency. This is the highest potency with the red cap. There's a black cap that's a mid-range, and a white cap that is the lowest potency if you want to just try it out and get a little bit of a rush. So here we go. Ooh, it was a good one. It wasn't the eye-watering one, but I'll take it because yeah, that's always good to go. And Noctane takes care of me, so I appreciate them for the sponsorship. It's something I use all the time, and I believe in it, and I love it. So go check it out. Get yourself a bottle and be ready for the next time we are doing a watch party. And you can, or while you're watching here, you can take a little whiff of it with me. So thanks again for the sponsorship, Noctane. Appreciate it. And yeah, let's get to what we're here for and talk about some combat sports news after I take a sip. I needed that. This is what I've needed, one of these all week. For some reason, I didn't make one, but all week I've just been like, I need an old fashioned, and I just haven't made one. I've been lazy. I haven't really drank much since last weekend, I guess, really. But all right, here we go. Let's get started with that GFL that I was talking about. Global Fight League, the new organization that popped up and is going to be debuting in May. It was supposed to be April this month, but now it's next month. May 24th and 25th will be their first events happening. So they're going to have a back-to-back 2-day event, and it's going to be, you know, they have like a team structure. So they have teams from representing different cities, and they have coaches and managers for those teams, and their teams are, you know, consist of people that are from that area. It seems like that train there, maybe not from there, but that like train in that area or something like that. Not specifically, but the majority of the fighters on these teams are that way. They've made some changes here and there. They've made some trades to kind of make that a little more truthful, but for the most part, that's kind of how that works. You can go to their website, Global Fight League, or MMAGFL.com is their website, and you can check it out there. They seem to have gotten a little better with the website because it was a little bit kind of just plain in the beginning, and it seems like they've stepped it up a little bit. So yeah, you can go check it out there, but I will be giving a little bit of info here because, you know, they just announced all these matchups and the dates of their first event. They're doing it in Los Angeles, in an auditorium, I guess, Bryan Auditorium. I think it's on I think they said the USC campus or something like that. Anyway, that's where they're having the event, in Los Angeles. So should bring a lot of eyes being in LA. You know, there's a lot of people there that, you know, celebrities and whatnot. So it could be good. It could be a good showing for them and some good support for their first couple of events. So let's take a look at the lineups and the matchups for these events. Starting with night one, Saturday, May 24th, we've got the Dubai team versus Miami happening that night. It looks like there's 6 teams that'll be competing in this. Dubai, Miami, London, New York, Sao Paulo, and Los Angeles. The first set will be Dubai versus Miami. Ray Borg versus Marlon Moraes, two former UFC fighters. Two guys that are pretty exciting to watch fight. You got Todd Duffy versus Rubeles de Spain in the heavyweight division. That should be a good one because Todd Duffy has been all over the place, and he's a fun fighter to watch as well. And Rubeles de Spain didn't do the best in the UFC, got cut after a few fights, but he went over to Karate Combat and had some exciting knockouts there. And now he's going to be in the GFL, and he'll be participating on this night versus Todd Duffy. You got Alexa Connors versus Kat Zingano. Kat Zingano coming back after being gone for a little while. She was fighting in Bellator when they were still around, but hasn't fought in a bit. So she'll be fighting Alexa Connors in the women's bantamweight division. And yeah, Kat Zingano's been, what can I say, active on OnlyFans. So if you're interested and you want to check that out, go check it out because she's got one and she's doing things. But don't ask me how I know. I don't know. I just heard, you know, rumors. But next up, in the featherweight division, we got a very difficult name that I'm gonna butcher. I don't even know if I should pretend to act like I know it. I will say the last name because the first name's tough. Tuktamuradov versus Charles Rosa in the men's featherweight division. You got the Brazilian Cowboy Alex Oliveira versus Gleison Tibau. A couple Brazilians going against each other there in the welterweight division. Moving on to London versus New York, you got Benson Henderson for London and Anthony Pettis for New York. They've fought a few times in the past. If you remember in WEC, the last event for WEC, you had Anthony Pettis going on, getting that crazy ass Showtime kick off the cage and kicking Benson Henderson in the face, which was insane and is a pretty historic highlight. You can find that anywhere. Go check it out if you've never seen it. It's a fun watch. You're just like, how the hell? I still to this day haven't really seen anybody do anything to that extent and pull it off. You know, a lot of people have tried to do some crazy shit, but no one's really done anything like that Showtime kick. You've seen some people try, but never as smooth and as nice as it went down when it happened in WEC for that last event. And in the women's bantamweight division, you got Julia Budd fighting for London and Holly Holm fighting for New York. After getting released from the UFC, she got her release after retiring, and now did she retire from the UFC? I don't think she did. No, she just got her release. I think her contract was up, and she just got a full-on release to move over to the GFL. So she's fighting Julia Budd, a pioneer in the women's division for MMA. She's been around for a long time, fought in a bunch of different organizations, so that should be a fun fight there. You got the men's middleweight division for London, Omari Akhmedov versus Derek Brunson for New York. Derek Brunson being a former UFC fighter and fought in, where was he after that? Was he in Bellator? I think he was in Bellator. Then you got Danny Roberts versus Neiman Gracie. Roberts fighting for London, Neiman Gracie fighting for New York. You got that famous Gracie name. We've seen Neiman fight for a long time now, so he's fighting in the welterweight division there. And then you got Kelly Stodden fighting for London versus Marissa Blanchia for New York. in the women's atomweight division. And if you've never heard of the women's atomweight division, they don't have one for the men. They have it for the women. The atomweight division is usually 105 pounds. Very rare for someone to be that small. Invicta has that weight class. I don't know if GFL's keeping it at 105. It might be 115 because it seems like GFL has different numbers when it comes to weight for their weight classes. So might have to look into that one because I didn't realize that they had an atomweight division there. So moving on to the third set of fights for Saturday, May 24th, we got Sao Paulo versus LA, Los Angeles. At the top of that one, we got Renan Barão versus Uriah Faber, which should be a damn fun fight. I haven't seen Barão fight in a while, but Faber's been retired for quite a bit too. Couple of former UFC fighters that had a lot of success in UFC, and Barão was a champ as well. I mean, Faber never got there, but you know, we know him, the California kid. He was in the WEC as well. Made a name for himself and is the leader of Team Alpha, used to be Team Alpha Male. Done a lot for himself, still making lots of money and doing well, but he's coming back to get a couple fights in, I guess, in the GFL. And then you got Mikey Linares versus Chad Money Mendez. Linares fighting for Sao Paulo, Chad Money Mendez fighting for LA. In the featherweight division. That should be a fun one. I'm looking to see Chad Mendez get a big win there. You know, he fought in the BKFC. He's done a few other things, but he's coming back to fight some MMA in the GFL. And then you got Lucas Martins versus Sage Northcutt. Sage Northcutt fought in the UFC for a little while. He was up in like a rising star. He looked like he was going to be a pretty good prospect, but fizzled a little bit. Went over to one championship and got his face completely broken by a monster over there. I can't even remember his name at the moment, but yeah, he got his face demolished, like literally multiple breaks in his face. So he took a long time off, but now he's back fighting for the GFL for Team Los Angeles versus Lucas Martins, and fighting for Sao Paulo in the lightweight division. Next up, you got Alejandra Lara fighting for Sao Paulo versus Aspen Ladd fighting for Team LA in the women's bantamweight division. I don't remember if Lara was in the UFC, but that name sounds familiar, so she might have been. Aspen Ladd was definitely in the UFC and then fought in, I think, the PFL after that. Now she's over at Global Fight League fighting in this two-night event for Team Los Angeles. And then to round off the first night, you got Joyce Mara versus Jessica Penne. Jessica Penne fought also for the UFC. So there is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, at 18, at least 18 of these fighters. I might be missing one or two, but at least 18 of these fighters have fought in the UFC in the past. It's pretty crazy. A lot of ex-UFC fighters, but that's how it goes. So moving on to the night 2, we got a repeat of the teams fighting each other. There's no mix and match here. It's gonna stay the same. So Dubai versus Miami will be matched up again, and we're gonna have Randy Field versus Paige Van Zandt. Paige Van Zandt coming back to MMA finally, fighting for GFL against Randy Field, who's been around for a while, never fought in the UFC, but definitely has a fun Instagram to go check out. So check that out. And then of course, famously, Paige Van Zandt is on OnlyFans and she is not shy, so you can go see her there. But that should be a fun fight there in the women's strawweight division. We got Abu Nurmagomedov versus Louis Glissman. Nurmagomedov fighting for Team Dubai, Glissman fighting for Miami. Next up, you got Devin Clark versus Thiago Santos. Clark for Dubai, Santos for Miami in the light heavyweight division. Jessica Aguilar versus Natasha Kuziutina. I've never heard of her, so I'm not sure who that is, but Jessica Aguilar has been around for a little bit. Aguilar fighting for Dubai, Natasha fighting for Miami. And then you got Grant Neal versus Phil Haas in the men's middleweight division. Neal fighting for Dubai, Haas fighting for Miami. Phil Haas looking like old school, the monster from back in the day with that hair. And then we got the London versus New York matchups. Alexander Gustafsson versus Ovince St. Preux, two former UFC fighters, both pretty big for a little while in the UFC, fighting in the light heavyweight division. OSP has not done well in his past few fights, but he just, I don't know, he just looked old and kind of slow and stiff. Gustafsson, you know, he had that big run, but I think he's still got some good fights in him. So this should be a decent fight here in the light heavyweight division. Gustafsson fighting for London, OSP fighting for New York. Then you got Stuart Austin versus Ellen Belcher. Belcher's been around for a long ass time, and this fool is ripped now. Fighting for Team New York versus Austin, who's fighting for Team London in the heavyweight division. And I think Belcher was like a middleweight before when he was in the UFC. Maybe middleweight or welterweight. I don't know. He was in the lower weight classes, and now he's a damn heavyweight. It's crazy. Next up, we got Cameron Else versus Jimmy Rivera. Rivera fighting for New York, Else fighting for London in the men's bantamweight division. Mike Grundy versus Kai Kamaka. Kamaka for New York, Grundy for London in the men's featherweight. And in the women's strawweight division, you got Josephine Knudsen fighting for London versus Mia Ding fighting for New York. And then the last matchups, Sao Paulo versus Los Angeles, with a little bit of New York mixed in, because at the top of that one, we got a matchup that everyone's been talking about and seems to be excited for. We got Dylan Dennis versus Tony Ferguson. Now, we all know the unfortunate downfall of Tony Ferguson and the like 9-fight losing streak that he's been on. It's shitty to see him lose that many fights, but maybe he'll have a quick resurgence here with an opponent that's probably a pretty good one for him in Dylan Dennis. I mean, Ferguson's got a good ground game and good jiu-jitsu, so hopefully he can, you know, hang with Dennis on the ground if he gets there. But I'm looking forward to hopefully Tony Ferguson just sparking that striking up again and knocking Dylan Dennis the fuck out. You can never shut that guy up, but if you knock him out, that'll do for now. Next up, which is now canceled, Fabricio Verdum was supposed to be fighting in the heavyweight division versus, I don't remember who his initial opponent was supposed to be, but I think they dropped out. And then so it was down to a TBA or TBD, whatever you want to call it, to be announced or to be determined. That's never a good sign. And that proved to be true here as well, because now Fabricio Verdum has pulled out of that fight and completely pulled out of the GFL. I guess he's not going to fight there at all. Not sure exactly why. I think I heard something about some injuries and stuff, so he's just planning to go back to retirement and not fighting anymore, or at least not fighting for the GFL from what I understand. So that one is scratched. But we do have Douglas Lima fighting for Team Sao Paulo versus Uriah Hall for Team LA in the men's middleweight division. That should be a damn good fight there. We got Viviane Pereira versus Elimele McFarlane. Elimele McFarlane was a champ for a long time in Bellator. She was pretty dominant there as well. That should be a great fight. Carlos Petruzella versus Lorenz Larkin in the men's welterweight division. Petruzella fighting for Sao Paulo and Lorenz Larkin fighting for LA. And then the last one will be Ronnie Marks versus Dawoon Jung. Jung fighting for LA, Marks fighting for Sao Paulo in the light heavyweight division. So there's your matchups for the 2-night affair for GFL in their debut events happening May 24th and 25th. I don't know that they've actually announced where they're going to be showing these fights yet, but we're over a month away, so they got a little bit of time. I guess we'll find out. As for right now, it just says that pre-sale starting soon this month for the tickets to go to LA and watch these fights. Star-studded event, I'm sure, being in LA, and on top of that, just the amount of notable names that are fighting on these cards is crazy. So just to watch any of them fight, we'll see what kind of an event and display that GFL puts on. We'll see what the walkouts look like, what the in between fights, what the kind of rundown it's gonna be. How much time are they gonna have in between fights? There's so many goddamn fights. We're talking like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 15 fights the first night and 15 fights the second night because Fabricio Verdum dropped out. So that evens up 5 fights for each category there. So they are working on like a point system. You get a certain amount of points for a finish, for a sub, for a decision, all that stuff. So yeah, go check out their website if you want to learn a little more about it, or go back to one of my own podcasts where I spoke about the GFL coming up and what they're planning on doing. You can go back and check out my breakdown of all the rules and everything like that. If I remember, I will put a card here, and you can just click on that and you can go check out that video. So yeah, that's it for the GFL coming up next month. Let's move on to the PFL, which is happening right now. Obviously fight leagues, right? A PFL, Professional Fighters League, and GFL, Global Fight League. So similar names, the 3 letters reign supreme in MMA. And it seems like they're the ones that do the best with the 3 letters, whether they stand for something or not. Well, I just told you what the other 3-letter ones were for, and the UFC is the Ultimate Fighting Championship, but everyone just knows it as the UFC, but set the precedent for the names, I guess, because now everything is kind of a 3-letter name. But right now we have the PFL World Tournament going on. The first round started tonight. It's ongoing right now, and we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the 6th fight, with only 2 more left on this card. We are 2 minutes and 23 seconds left in the first round of the fight, with Logan Storley versus Joseph Luciano. That's the fight happening as we speak live. A little bit of blood coming from Storley, it looks like, but he's on top right now as they are on the ground with 2 minutes left in the first round. It's a welterweight fight there. The fight that just ended was Movlid Kubalayev versus Jeremy Kennedy. That was had some blood going on in that fight too. Looked like Kennedy was busted open a little bit. Kubalayev looked like he had some blood on him. Not sure if it was his or not, but that was in the men's featherweight division. That was a split decision win for Kubalayev. Having trouble saying his name, but he is an undefeated fighter now, 22-0, and Jeremy Kennedy unfortunately gets a loss there. Earlier fights, Thad Jean, I'm not sure, gets a TKO by strikes in a prelim fight versus Mohamed Berkamov. Fuck, man, these names are hard. That was in the welterweight division. Before that, featherweight division, we had a submission win for Gabriel Braga versus Frederic Dupras in the first round. Then we had Masayuki Kikuri versus Giannis Bachar, and that was a TKO win for Masayuki. I'm not gonna try to say that last name again. That one's tough. And then the first fight of the night was a submission as well in the first round. Tai Kyun Kim got the submission win by rear naked choke over Nathan Kelly in the men's featherweight division. So the only fights left after the one that is currently on and about to wrap up the first round with 20 seconds left is Logan Storley versus Joseph Luciano, like I said. But we got the co-main event left, which is Jesus Pinedo versus Adam Borix. That's in the men's featherweight division. And then in the welterweight division, we got Jason Jackson versus Andrei Koreshkov. And that is the main event there for the PFL 2025 World Tournament that just started today. So that's happening as we speak, and you can check it out on ESPN2. Turn it on in the background while you continue to watch this, or yeah, just keep watching this though. So I'll give some updates as I see them happen. Like I said, we're in the middle of the third to the last fight. We got 2 more left after this. I'll give some updates as they come through. So the other events happening this weekend, we got 2 cards coming from BKFC happening in Dubai. BKFC 71 headlining that card is Austin Trout versus Carlos Trinidad Snake. That's the main event in this BKFC fight, and it looks like Austin Trout is the defending champ there. And then in the co-main, we got another defending champ in Britton Hart fighting Ty Emery, trying to take that belt from her. Ty Emery, yet another OnlyFans girl who is not shy, and she's the one, if you remember, won a fight in BKFC last year sometime, maybe it was the year before, and after she won, she jumped on the ropes and flashed everybody. So she's a fun one. Britton Hart likes to talk shit though. She gets crazy and she likes to talk shit, and these girls can throw down. Ty Emery was a regular boxer for a while, I believe, before this, so that should be a fun co-main event there. Other notables on the card: Sabah Hamasi versus Johnny Tello. Let's see, Mohammed Ahmed versus Fad Tavardi. Let's see, who else do I recognize here? Alexei Olenek versus Geronimo Dos Santos. That should be a fun fight there. Alexei Olenek, fighting was in the UFC for a bit, so he's got a fuckload of fights. Oh my god. But this is his debut fight in the BKFC. Fought in Bellator, KSW, and the UFC before that. Yeah, so that should be a good fight there. And then oddly enough, we have a guy named Muhammad Ali fighting Jaskaran Singh, so that's interesting. Let's see what else. That's it. I don't really recognize a whole lot more of these names, but I'll tell you this much: you will have excitement, and you will be interested if you watch these fights. It's you can watch it on the BKFC app, apparently. I'm not sure where else you can actually watch this, but yeah, that should be a fun one there. And that is happening tomorrow night. And then we have their second event for the weekend is also taking place in Dubai, BKFC 72, happening Saturday, April 5th. That one being headlined by Kai Stewart versus Tommy Stridham. Kai Stewart being the defending champ, fighting Tommy Stridham there for the main event. We got Hannah Rankin versus Jessica Borga, Black Widow. She's fought in a few different organizations, I believe. I think the last notable was in Bellator. Yeah, she was 1 and 2 in Bellator. I guess she hasn't fought in that many. I thought she fought in other organizations, but she's had 2 other fights in BKFC that she won, both by finish. So that should be a good one there. Yet again, another OnlyFans girl. So you could check her out. She's done a lot. And then you got Fabio Maldonado versus John Phillips. Aaron Chalmers versus Chaz Simons. Aaron Chalmers, I think, fought in the UFC for a minute. No, he fought in Bellator. I'm sorry. He was 2 and 2 in Bellator. Fought there for a couple years. Gito Incente versus Hassan Yousefi. And let's see who else. Dan Chapman versus Brandon Allen. And damn, that's all I see for notable guys there. But again, you will see a lot of blood, you will see a lot of cuts, and it's fun to watch. If you're looking for action, it's nonstop in BKFC. I mean, obviously it's bare knuckle fighting, bare knuckle boxing, and there's a lot of dirty boxing going on, and they fight in like a circle ring, and it's an actual ring, I guess. Instead of being the squared circle like we're used to with boxing, they're like in a circle shaped ring with ropes and stuff. So lots of blood, lots of action. It's intense and it's fun, so check it out if you are into that. That's all happening this weekend. One fight going on Friday night, one fight going on Saturday night, so big events for the BKFC. So yeah, let's move on to some fight announcements that happened this week. I believe it was Tuesday night when Dana White went live and announced a few fights. One very, very fun, interesting fight coming up this month, April 26th. That's going to be Ian Machado Gary versus Carlos Prates. I mean, that is a hell of a fight, man. Ian Gary stepping up again on short notice. This is the second time. You know, it didn't fare well for him last time when he fought Shavkat Rakhmonov, but he's stepping up again to fight Carlos Prates later this month. I don't even think they've updated. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, so that is, it was supposed to be Khalil Roundtree versus Jamal Hill, but I guess Jamal Hill, I don't know what happened to him. Nobody seems to know exactly what happened at the moment. I assume he got injured, but either way, he pulled out. Khalil Roundtree found out while he was like live on a podcast or something. But yeah, that fight's not happening now. So they replaced it with Ian Gary versus Carlos Prates. Prates part of that Fight Nerds team, which is just the most exciting shit right now, pretty much. Those guys are fun to watch, all of them, and they're all just killing it right now. So Kyle Bahalio, Jean Silva, Carlos Prates, all those guys, just fun as hell to watch, and always exciting. So Anthony Smith versus Zhang Ming Yang is the co-main event on that one. Giga Chikadze versus David Onama. Michel Pereira versus Abus Magomedov. Randy Brown versus Nicholas Dalby. And Ikram Alaskera versus Andre Muniz. Obviously, these cards change a lot, but you know, those are some names that you can. That's supposedly the main card for now. Jacqueline Almarim fighting Polyana Viana. That's a fucking. Ooh, that's some hotness going on there. That fight's happening that night as well in the prelims. Chelsea Chandler versus Jocelyn Edwards. Max Schnell versus Jimmy Flick. So yeah, some pretty decent names on that card there. So that one will be coming up on April 26th. And then we also had a couple of other big fights announced. We have the rematch of Merab Dvalishvili versus Sean O'Malley. O'Malley getting the automatic rematch pretty much after losing the belt to Merab back in September of last year at that Noche UFC card at the Sphere. You know, it was kind of, I mean, it wasn't the best fight. Obviously, Merab has a certain style of fighting that isn't the most exciting, but at the same time, Merab, his nickname's the Machine for a reason, and that's because he just doesn't stop. His grappling and wrestling is elite, high level, and 100% hard to fucking deal with, and that's why he's on such a streak and now the champ. And Sean O'Malley has been going around, well, not going around, but he was on a podcast with his coach talking about the fact that, you know, he had so many injuries. He tore a labrum in his groin area, and that's just what he keeps talking about, and the fact that he's going to be 70% better this time because of, you know, the injuries and stuff last time. He says that he isn't drinking, isn't smoking, stopped playing video games, is not on social media. He's 100% focused and dead set on getting his belt back and taking this seriously, because he said he said Merab's a murderer, then he said, well, maybe not so much, but he's definitely an animal and he's a machine, and that's why his nickname's the Machine, and he's a worthy opponent. He gave him all the props, but also said he's coming back 100% and ready to go. So let's hope that stays true, because this fight doesn't happen until June 7th for UFC 316. So that'll be, that should be fun. And I mean, a lot of people have a problem with the fact that O'Malley got the rematch, but I mean, it is what it is, because like that division, Merab's either already been through them, or there's no clear cuts in that division right now. So having Sean O'Malley, come back and fight again, because he's such a big star, and it doesn't seem like that has dwindled as much as people might have thought after losing the belt. So he's gonna come back and try to get that belt back, and keep being the rising star that he is, and just keep adding to that superstardom. So we'll see how that fares for him. Also on that card, June 7th for UFC 316, we have another title fight for the co-main with the women in the women's bantamweight division. We got Juliana Pena defending her belt versus Kayla Harrison. There's been some beef here, some bad blood, lots of shit talking. Juliana Pena never shuts the fuck up, and I say it that way because I'm just not a big fan. She's very cringy. She reminds me of Triple C, King of Cringe, fucking whatever the fuck his name is. I can't remember his name right now. That's because I'm just thinking about the annoying shit. Henry Cejudo, god damn it, there it is. But I swear Juliana Pena is like the female version of Henry Cejudo. So but she's fighting Kayla Harrison, who, it's a tough weight cut for her to get to 135, but she's making her way back down there, because she was fighting 155 in PFL when she was fighting over there, and now she's making that cut all the way to 35 when she's already a big woman. She's a world-class judoka, overcome a lot in her life, and she was a champ forever in PFL, and now she is, I believe, 2-0 in the UFC. So now she's getting the title shot after beating Holly Holm. And who else? Ketlin Vieira. She didn't have the best fight with that in her last one against Vieira, but either way she gets the title shot. And both these girls have some history with Amanda Nunes, and there's rumor that there's a possibility she's thinking about coming back. So Juliana Pena, obviously 1-1 with Amanda Nunes. They both have won a fight against each other, and Kayla Harrison used to be a training partner with Amanda Nunes when they were teammates over at American Top Team, and there's been a little bit of shit talking there. So maybe with the winner, whoever wins this fight will get their next shot against Amanda Nunes, the female GOAT, and maybe she'll make her return to the UFC and to MMA and see if she can get that belt back. But those are just rumors at the moment. So anyway, a couple big fights announced. Along with that, Dana also announced some shit about them partnering with Meta now, and obviously apparently he's like a part of the board over at Meta. And Dana White's doing all kinds of crazy shit now, being a part of the cabinet, or not the cabinet, but like a part of the team over in the White House with Trump and everything like that, being a part of of getting him elected, really. And now the stuff with Meta. So he's saying that UFC and MMA fans are gonna have some big things coming for them. A lot of interactive shit, a lot of stuff with AI. Meta's doing a lot of things, possibly VR stuff and everything like that. And he's also talking about them implementing a new AI model for rankings. And he said, thank God when he said that, because he hates the ranking system at the moment. Why he doesn't just change it now to be better for whatever his expectations are, I don't know. But with the John Jones glazing, all-time glazing of John Jones that Dana White does, it's like not surprising that he hates that for some reason John Jones isn't always number one. But he fucking has shown his disapproval for the rankings and the way that they're done and the people that do the rankings. He says none of them know shit about MMA, and he doesn't even know why they're the ones that do the ranking system. So apparently AI is going to take over with Meta, and it's going to get done that way. So we can be looking forward to seeing that soon, and we'll see if it changes anything, because the UFC doesn't even stick to the rankings. They basically just do whatever they want. You know, it's like not every number one ranked guy will be the next for the title. Especially, you know, there's different things involved with all that, though. You know, if that guy already had 2-3 shots at the title and he's still the number one contender, well, I can understand why they would want to skip over him to try to get some new blood in there. If no one can beat him, but you know, he can't beat the champ, it's like you're at a stalemate. So you got to do something to change it up. So I understand that part coming from the UFC, but a lot of people are pissed off with all the way that goes down and how it works, and just talking about the fact that who gives a shit about how the rankings are done when you don't pay attention or follow them anyway. So there's a lot of different things involved with it, though. So I can understand why it goes the way it goes, and why, but I understand why people are pissed off about all of it too. It doesn't matter to me as long as we get the good fights and the fights that matter. That's what matters to me. So in the end, it doesn't, the rankings, who gives a shit? That number next to your name, though, it means something to a lot of those fighters, and it should mean something when it comes down to matchups, but it really doesn't in the overall perspective. So who knows? We'll see how that all works out and what actually gets announced, how they're actually going to do it. So Logan Storley gets the win over shit, I closed that window, damn it. Luciano was his opponent, but yeah, he got that win. I should open that back up because I wanted to make sure that I am keeping up with these last few fights that are happening as we speak. He got that decision win over, oh man, these goddamn pop-ups. Okay. Let me get to, there it is. All right, so Logan Storley gets the unanimous decision win over Joseph Luciano. Next up is Jesus Pineda versus Adam Borex. So we'll see what happens in that fight. And let's move on to the recap of UFC Mexico that happened last weekend in Mexico City. Brandon Moreno versus Steve Erceg in the main event there. Oh, holy shit, that's good. Yeah, I mean, this not the crazy good fight card we'd hope for. You know, there was a lot of issues with the location, right? You got higher elevation, you got the chances of things happening because it being Mexico. You know, I was in Mexico a couple weeks ago and I was fine while I was there. I had no sickness, no nothing like that. I guess I got lucky, or we just paid attention better, I'm not sure. But there was instances where, I mean, if you think about it, every UFC card in the past maybe month or month and a half has had somebody falling out due to illness. That's what they say. And I know that there's been these cases of the neurovirus going around that's fucking everybody up. Whatever sickness I had, I know it wasn't neurovirus because I didn't really have a lot of the symptoms that they talked about with that. But whatever kind of sicknesses have been illnesses and stuff like that have been going around, just been fucking people up. So I guess the fighters have been catching all that too. You know, they're around tons and tons of people at all times with all of the production and everything like that, sparring partners and training partners and coaches, families and all that shit. So people are going to get sick, but it's just seemed to have been more prevalent lately. So it's kind of crazy that that's the way that things have gone down. And this event was a part of all of that. And I mean, it's a little more understandable in Mexico. You know, everyone talks about the fact that you shouldn't drink the water, you got to watch what you eat and all this other shit. And for me, I'm like, I'm already a picky eater, and then to have to pay attention to what you're eating because you're worried about getting sick and shit, like that sucks. But I've had luck. I've been to Mexico a few times now, and I've had good luck is to not ever get sick while I'm out there or come back sick. So that's good. But not everybody has that luck, and it's weird because you would think these guys as fighters would pay way more attention and would have people looking out for them. But I mean, shit slips by and you just never know. It's hard to keep track of everything, I guess. But Joe Pyfer, I think the most anticipated fight of this entire card was Joe Pyfer versus Kelvin Gastelum, and unfortunately that fight got canceled because Joe Pyfer got sick, and he had a lot to say about it. He was pissed, which is completely understandable because obviously, you know, you don't want to have to acclimate to the elevation change and do that extra work on top of the weight cut, on top of the training, just being tired, dealing with injuries that everyone who fights anywhere deals with, but then also getting sick and then not being able to fight after all that hard work and money spent to get you there. So that's what happened, and it's unfortunate because that was the fight I was looking forward to the most on that card. But Pyfer was pissed, and he had a lot to say, and a lot of people are not happy with the things he had to say. So let's take a listen to what Joe Pyfer had to say about him getting sick in Mexico and having to pull out of his fight. Here we go.
You know, it still stings that I didn't get to fight, but the last thing I will address is I don't care if it's offensive to you. I will never go back to that country. I did everything right. I slept in a tent. I did all this work to still get sick. Some people are saying it wasn't the food, saying I got altitude sickness. I'm not a fucking geographic fucking, elevation fucking scientist, but I was told as long as I acclimated, which I did for 2 months.
2 months he prepared for the elevation and altitude. So I mean, I completely understand why he's pissed, but him saying stuff like, I don't care, I'll never fucking go to that country again, it gets a little more aggressive here in a minute. But him saying, I don't care if you're offended or if you find this offensive, there's a little more coming. So let's finish listening.
Slept in a tent and on the fucking floor. I did everything that I could to prepare. And if that's what altitude and elevation is, fuck that country.
Well, hold on though. Fuck that country. This country has elevation too, bro. You go to fucking Colorado and you're gonna deal with that shit too. So yeah, this is why it's a little problematic what he's saying, and it's weird because Pyfer always seems to be like a kind of a cool, laid back dude, but he's pissed and he's letting us know.
I will never fight there again. Shithole. Not going back. Don't care if that's offensive to you. You're not the one fighting. Suck my balls, literally.
All right. I mean, I understand. A lot of people don't want to go to Mexico because, as I said earlier, I don't want to have to deal with worrying about what I'm eating, worrying about brushing your teeth because you can't rinse your mouth out with the water. What bottles of water are for? I mean, we took a case of water. Everyone took so many cases of water with us that we had like cases of water left over because we took plenty, more than we needed. But yeah, it's that easy. You can get sick from brushing your teeth. You can get sick from having a drink. Say you have a soda and it has ice, or a mixed drink and it has ice in it, and that ice melts a little bit, and then you drink that, and guess what? That ice came from the shitty water. Who knows what the fuck's going on in Mexico? But it's well known that you can't drink the water there. I heard something about it being an Italian restaurant at the hotel they were in that he got sick from, but that's just something I heard. I don't know. But either way, it sucks that he had to pull out of his fight. But god damn, bro, he's like, fuck that shithole country. I'm never going there again. All right, you don't have to. But I don't think anybody was like saying, man up, or I don't know why he's taking such a stance. I just be like, hey, listen, I don't like having to deal with everything that I need to deal with over there. Diego Lopez by Buckshots next week. Damn. Oh, back shots. I was like, damn, you coming out swinging. Christian, what's up, man? Appreciate you jumping in. Diego, man, that's Volk. If Volk doesn't have if Volk doesn't bounce back to be the Volk of old, Diego Lopez definitely has what it takes to beat him. So I understand what you're saying there, but fuck, I don't know. It's gonna be a tough one to call. I don't know that I'm gonna bet on that fight, just because it could go either way. But yeah, Pyfer's pissed, and I'm not necessarily offended by what he said. I just think that it's like, man, you you didn't really have to go in on the country. Like, you got sick. You can get sick here. Look at how many events have happened in the past like month or two where so many guys have dropped out due to illness. So it's the same thing. So I mean, I don't know why he's so mad, but he's pissed. So let's get into what happened with the rest of the card for everyone that did fight. We had started off with Markel Medeiros versus Austin Hubbard to begin the prelims. Pretty close fight there, but we had Medeiros pulling out the split decision win over Austin Hubbard to begin the night. Moving over to Jamal Emmers, we had the first finish of the night with a nice TKO coming from Jamal Emmers over Gabriel Miranda. Pretty big punches landed by Emmers there. You can see in that bottom picture, especially good connection, good power, and he gets a TKO win in the first round over Gabriel Miranda. And then the women come in. Oh shit, I'm sorry, not the women yet, because we had Rafa Garcia beating Vince Pichel by unanimous decision. There was a lot of decisions on this card, so unfortunately we had that problem again. But I mean, there were some pretty decent fights, so you can't really say it was a shit card. For the most part, it was a decent card. But Rafa Garcia gets the win over Vince Pichel. Pichel thought he got robbed. He said some shit on X, talking about him getting robbed, which is, shitty for him. It was a pretty close fight, it seemed like, for a while, but Rafa Garcia gets the unanimous decision win there. We move over to the women. Lupe Godinez versus Julia Pilastri in the women's strawweight division. Lupe Godinez came in ready to go. She was having issues of her own too, though, because on top of which, god damn it, I forgot to find a picture of it. She got this crazy slam on Julia Pilastri where she just like fucking slammed the shit out of her on the ground. Looked pretty nasty, looked like it hurt. So a lot of people were excited about that one and sharing that one all over the place. But also, I think it was between the second and third round, Lupe Godinez was in her corner and the camera was on her, and she's like listening to them talk, and she looks like she's just not fully there, and then she goes, I gotta poop. She just starts talking about how she's got to take a shit. Well, apparently after the weigh-ins, she had a pretty nasty bout with some bathroom issues. And so but she still stayed in there and fought. I guess she didn't have it as bad as Joe Pyfer, or maybe she just handled it better, I'm not sure. But Lupe Godinez is from Mexico, but she lives in Canada and has for a while. So, I heard interviews of them asking her if, because she's from Mexico, maybe she can handle it better or something. She's like, I don't know, but my stomach was jacked up too, and I had to shit. And she let everybody know. But she's straight up like that. She seems like she's the type that doesn't care. She's gonna speak her mind and say what's on her mind. And she fought a good fight and gets a unanimous decision win over Pilastri in the women's strawweight division. So next up we had Melquizel Costa versus Christian Rodriguez. And I stopped betting against C-Rod a long time ago because he seems like every time I'm thinking he's got a good matchup for him, and maybe he's not going to win, he comes out and beats the hell out of everybody. But even though he was the favorite in this fight, Costa gets the win by unanimous decision in the men's featherweight division. And then we get to another big TKO by Atibe Gautier versus Jose Medina. And Gautier got this, as you can see, landing some pretty big punches on Medina, and then gets this nasty fucking knee to get the TKO win in the first round in the men's middleweight division. So that was a fun fight to watch, and to see him get his UFC debut win that way. I believe that was his UFC debut. Yes, that was. He's coming off the Contender Series. He got a Performance of the Night bonus for that one. And then we move over to Kevin Borjas versus Ronaldo Rodriguez. This was the first fight on the main card, and a lot of people were high on Rodriguez because of that performance he had at the Sphere for UFC Noche back in September of last year. Pineda versus Borex. Okay, I'm still watching that PFL, so I was trying to see where we were at. We got 3 minutes and 25 seconds left in the first round, so that fight kind of just started. I'll give an update whenever we see something go down with that. But yeah, so everyone was high on Rodriguez, and unfortunately Lazy Boy was a lazy boy because he did not get the win. He got a unanimous decision win for Kevin Borjas, who, I mean, he looked pretty good with his striking. He was finding openings and catching Rodriguez and stumbling him all over the place. So it was a good fight for Borjas there, beating Ronaldo Rodriguez in the first fight of the main card. Next up, another really big TKO win here for the doctor, David Martinez. He's a legit doctor, and he got a nasty TKO win with this sequence that he put on Simon Oliveira. It was a fun fight to watch, man. Martinez looked sharp. He was fast. This was his UFC debut as well, if I remember correctly. He's now 12-1 overall, and yes, that was his UFC debut. So the debuting guys in the UFC for this UFC Mexico card fucking came out swinging and putting on a show. So that's a damn good way to start your career in the UFC. And this guy being a legit doctor, I think he's only like 26 years old too, or some shit like that. Yeah, 26, and he's already a doctor. Gets a performance of the night bonus for this TKO win over Simon Oliveira in the men's bantamweight division. And that leads us to, oh no, here's the other here's the sequence, the finishing sequence here, where he got that counter straight and knocked down Oliveira and finished him on the ground. So that was a big win for Martinez there in his debut. There's some more ground and pound to finish, and that leads us to Raul Rosas Jr. versus Vince Morales. So this one, you know, Rosas, he's had some fun, exciting fights. Oh shit, we got to finish in the PFL. Looks like Pineda wins over Borex. I just don't know how, because I missed it, but we will see in just a second, because I'm sure we'll get a replay. So that was the co-main event of the PFL World Tournament that's happening right now on ESPN Plus. Anyway, back to Raul Rosas Jr. versus Vince Morales. Now, like I was saying, Raul Rosas, I mean, he's been exciting since he got in the UFC, you know, being really young, getting signed to the UFC at like 18. He fought in the Contender Series, got a good win there. Just high energy and lots of action. He's got good wrestling and grappling and stuff too, but it seems like he relies on that a lot. And I'm watching, oh, good right hand by Pineda. And he stumbled Borex, gets him in the body, drops him. I'm just looking at this sequence here. They clashed heads too at one point. Huh. Okay, anyway, Raul Rosas, though, I mean, he relies on that wrestling and grappling, and you know, he tries to get some big crazy strikes in there, as you can see with that kick on the top. You know, he's always trying to do some flying shit or some crazy dynamic striking, and I think he needs to tighten that up a little bit and you know, get a little more accurate with those strikes. And when he does, I feel like he's going to be even better. But as of right now, he's still winning, because he got the unanimous decision win here over Vince Morales in the men's bantamweight division on that main card of UFC Mexico. So Mr. Chiwiwis fucking pulling out the win over Vince Morales. And that leads us to Edgar Chairez versus CJ Vergara. I don't even think this fight was actually supposed to be on the main card, or maybe it was. I think it was. I don't know. I think I screwed up somewhere. Anyway, but yeah, Chairez came out fast and got a big win over CJ Vergara in the first round by submission, after putting on some good strikes on Vergara and taking him down to the ground and winding up getting the rear naked choke on him. You can see that connection there in that top picture with the left hand from Chairez. And then he wraps up that submission with the rear naked choke in the first round over CJ Vergara. And he gets the performance of the night bonus on that one. And that brings us to the co-main event with Miguel Torres versus Drew Dober. Yet another finish. So this made for, well, that was 2 finishes in a row. We had the 1 decision in the middle with Rosas, but then we had that Martinez. So the main card was pretty damn good because you had Martinez with the finish. We had Rosas with the decision, Chairez with the finish, and then we get to this one with Miguel Torres versus Drew Dober, and Miguel Torres gets a big win in the first round. 1 minute 45 seconds on the lightweight division over Drew Dober. He had a nice combo that dropped Dober, and then Dober's on his hands and knees, as you can see. They're trying to, reach for that ankle and get that single leg, and fucking Torres just dropped some crazy hammer fist to the side of Dober's head, and a lot of people were saying maybe it was an early stoppage or something like that, but Drew Dober said himself after, he said, I'm not even sure if it was the first or the second one, but either way, after those first couple hits on the side of the head, he's like, the lights were on, but no one was home. He's like, I was done. It was a good stoppage. I don't know what happened. He said he got dropped, and then next thing you know, the fight's over. So he said those hammer fists were definitely the finishing, touch, and they were very effective. So he got that. He unfortunately gets the loss there against Miguel Torres. Another performance of the night bonus on that one for Miguel Torres. And that brings us to the main event. We had Steve Erceg versus Brandon Moreno. Oh, shit. Damn, I fucked up. There we go. There's that. There's your finish. He walked away with Dober getting held up by the ref, as you can see. I always like to add those pictures in just because it looks, they're usually pretty good pictures when you see them with the walk away after getting the big finish. But here's Steve Erceg versus Brandon Moreno in the main event of UFC Mexico. Yet another decision, but that's kind of what you get when you got these guys fighting, Moreno and Erceg. We've seen them finish people, but also Moreno's always in a war, and it always goes to decision, but it's a fun fight most of the time when you get to see him fight. And this time it wasn't the most exciting fight, unfortunately, but Erceg put up a decent fight, as you can see here, landing some good strikes, but Brandon Moreno just took over. I wouldn't say he 100% dominated, but he won decisively. He got the unanimous decision win, using his striking and just using his all-around skills, and being the fighter that he is. He puts on the pressure, he keeps going, and he doesn't gas. So, and he's always in a war. He always gets beat up, but he pulls out the wins. So he gets another win here versus Steve Erceg. And unfortunately for Erceg, this is his 3rd loss in a row. But we're talking big fights against Alexandre Pantoja, Kai Kara France, now Brandon Moreno. It's not like he's losing to, scrubs. He's losing to the best of the best in the division, and I think he'll bounce back. He definitely has the skills. I think he just needs to take some time off and gather himself a little bit and work on some things, and then come back and make another run, because I think he definitely has the potential to make another run for the title. I think he got a little fast-tracked, and it might have been a little too much too fast. So hopefully he can get it together, come back and get back in that win column, put together some good wins, and maybe be in contention again. So that's it for UFC Mexico. Let's preview this UFC Vegas 105 happening in Las Vegas in the Apex this weekend, coming up on Saturday, April 6th. We got Josh Emmett versus Lerone Murphy happening, like I said, in Vegas in the Apex. So fun stuff there. But let's hope for a lot of finishes. Let's hope for some good fights. It's not like the biggest fight card in the world. Obviously, Apex cards are never that stacked. And we're also just leading up to a pay-per-view event, so they're not going to give you like some crazy fantastic fight night right before a pay-per-view, because you know they're leading into what's supposed to be great nights of fighting when it comes to pay-per-views. So we'll see what this one brings us, but there's some pretty decent fights on this card. And we'll start off with the prelims. And there's been a little bit of a change up because I guess Kennedy and Nzechukwu was supposed to fight Martin Boudin, but that fight got canceled because Nzechukwu got injured. So Boudin got dropped down to the prelims, and it looks like Ode Osborne's fight got moved up to the main card. So there's a little bit of a mix up there, and that caused me to have to do some extra work before I got started, but it is what it is. I like a challenge, so no big deal. I got it done. But let's start with the women in the the women in the strawweight division. We got Vanessa Demopoulos versus Talita Alenkar. And that's your first fight of the night in the prelims. Vanessa Demopoulos, former stripper. She wrote the Stripper Bible or something like that. But yeah, she's done pretty well in the UFC. She's the girl that jumps into Rogan's arms. She's done it to Bisping and maybe someone else, DC maybe. But yeah, when she gets a win, she like jumps into their arms during the interview. She is coming off a loss though to Jacqueline Almarim back in September of last year. And that was a loss by submission. Before that, she was on a 2-fight win streak. So she's looking to get back in that win column against Talita Alenkar in the women's strawweight division to start off the night. Next up, you got Victor Henry versus Pedro Falcao in the men's bantamweight division. Victor Henry, look at that hair, man. Holy shit. This should be a pretty fun fight. I mean, nothing crazy there. Back to the women's division. We got Loma Lukbunmi versus Estela Nunez in the women's strawweight division. Lukbunmi is 9-3. Nunez is 6-5. After that, we got Rise McKee versus Danielle Frunza in the men's welterweight division. McKee is 13-6. Frunza is 9-2. Next set of prelims, we got Diana Belbita versus Dion Barbosa in the women's strawweight division. What did I say, strawweight? That's that's strawweight. No. God damn it. What is 125? I can't think of 125. What is it? That's gonna drive me nuts. It is that is strawweight. 125 is strawweight. Yeah. Okay. I don't know why I was thinking flyweight. I thought it was flyweight. Yeah, it is flyweight. 125 is flyweight. 115 is strawweight. Oh my God, I'm struggling. Anyway, Diana Belbita versus Dion Barbosa should be a fun fight there. Belbita's 15-9. Barbosa's 7-3. We got Davey Grant versus Daniel Santos in the men's bantamweight division. 16-7 for Grant. Santos is 12-2. And then, oh no, I forgot to change. Man, I forgot to change these. It's not Ode Osborne anymore. It's actually, let me look at this real quick because I sent them over and I forgot to change the damn picture. So it's not Ode Osborne. It's actually, Davey Grant versus Santos is the last fight. Let's see what else changed. Martin Boudet versus Uran Sadibeldiov is the other fight on the prelims taking place of this Osborne versus Guru. You'll see that one in the main on the main card. But Boudet is 14-2. Sadi Beldiov is 9-0. So Boudet getting an undefeated fighter for his new opponent. Let's move over to the main card. Torres Finney versus Robert Valentine, I think. Finney with the no neck motherfucker. Jesus Christ, look at those lats. He's got no neck. He looks crazy misproportionate, but it's okay, because he's fought 3 times in the Contender Series. I don't know why. I think he's probably fought the most. Usually guys fight like once, maybe twice in the Contender Series. Like Bo Nickel got 2 wins in the Contender Series before he got into the UFC. But Finney, Dana just had something against him or something. Just didn't think he was ready. Made him fight 3 times. Got 3 wins in the Contender Series. The first one was in 23. He went to another organization, got a win there, and then came back, got another win in August of 24 in the Contender Series, and then in October of 24 got another win by ground and pound TKO. So now he's finally in the UFC, making his debut against Robert Valentine. So Finney is undefeated, 10-0 overall. 7-0 in KO TKOs, 1-0 by sub, and 2-0 by decision. Obviously on a 10-fight win streak. He hasn't fought in the UFC yet. So Valentine, I'm not sure exactly which one it is. He's 30 years old, 10-4. He's 0-1 in the UFC. So I mean, they're kind of similar there as far as records go in the UFC. 3-2 by KO TKO, 6-1 by sub, and 1-1 by decision. He's he's coming off a loss, obviously, because he lost his only fight in the UFC to Ryan Loder by ground and pound in round 2 back in August of last year. So we'll see what he has for Therese Finney. As you can see, Finney with that crazy big overhand right, putting everything behind it. And then you got Valentine on the ground there. He's also from the Contender Series. Was that Contender or is that Ultimate Fighter? Might be Tough. Yeah, I think that is from Tough. Yep, he was on Tough 32. That's what that picture's from. Getting an armbar submission there. So yeah, that's your first fight of the night for the main card. Let's go to the next fight. This is the one that took the place. We got Ode Osborne versus Luis Gurul in the men's flyweight division, featherweight division. No, it is flyweight division. I keep getting those mixed up. I don't know what's wrong with me today. But we got Ode Osborne, 12-8 overall, 4-6 in the UFC. That's a tough record there. But 4-2 by KO TKO, 5-4 by sub, 3-2 by decision. He's on a 3-fight losing streak, so that's tough as well, especially going against an undefeated fighter making his debut in the UFC. So I mean, different level of competition here in the UFC, but with coming in undefeated, sometimes that messes with the guy's head when they get to the bright lights in the UFC, getting in that octagon, the nerves, the UFC jitters and all that shit. But still undefeated. 5-0 by KO TKO, 1-0 by sub, 4-0 by decision. Obviously 10-fight win streak because he's 10-0 overall. And this is his UFC debut against a pretty good fighter in Ode Osborne. Let's take a look at Osborne's last 3 fights that he's lost. Unanimous decision to Ronaldo Rodriguez. That was at the Sphere. Rear naked choke loss to Rafael Filio, and then Asu Almabayev also got him by rear naked choke. So Ode's got to be careful on the ground because he's lost a couple by submission there in his past 3 fights, but he is 0-3, or he's on a 3-fight losing streak, and that's never good in the UFC. So he needs to turn it around and get a big win here against the debut fighter in Luis Gurul. He is coming off a win by split decision in the Contender Series, so surprisingly got into the UFC with a split decision win. Must have been a pretty good fight. I didn't watch all the fights on the Contender Series this past year, so we'll see what kind of fight they give us there for the second fight of the night on the main card. Let's get to the third fight on the main card, which should be a good one. Brad Tavares versus GM3 Gerald Meerschaert. Both these guys are fun to watch fight. I mean, Tavares got that big win over Chris Weidman in his last fight. I believe that was his last fight. But Tavares is 20-10 overall, 15-10 in the UFC. That's a lot of fucking fights. 5-5 by KO, TKO, 2-0 by sub, 13-5 by decision. Oh, I guess he's on a 2-fight losing streak. So he's fought 2 fights since Weidman. Yeah, what am I thinking? He fought RoboCop and the Iron Turtle, Jun Young Park. So yeah, he's on a 2-fight losing streak. Man, my timeline is all fucked up right now. But and this is not the bantamweight division, so I screwed that up there too. But anyway, GM3, 37 years old, 37-18 overall, 12-10. Both these guys have a fuckload of fights in the UFC and all together. GM3 6-4 by KO TKO, 29-9 by submission. That is a lot of fucking submissions. So if this gets to the ground, Tavares has a lot to look out. He's never been submitted in his career, but he only has 2 wins in his career by submission. I mean, most of the time it looks like he goes to decision. Looking at his record, he has a pretty damn good record by decision, unlike Mearshart, who's only 2-5. He's got a losing record there by decision, so that's something to look out for. But Mearshart's coming off a loss as well, so both these guys are looking to get back into the win column with this next fight against each other. Let me see who Mearshart has his last fight against. RDR. He lost to Rainier de Ritter by arm triangle choke, and then he won the fight before that by arm triangle choke as well against Edmund Shabazian. He had a 2-fight win streak before he lost to RDR, and the other fight that he won was against Brian Barberena. That was another submission, obviously, because he has 29 submission wins. So that rear naked choke over Brian Barberena as well for his 2 fights in 2024. So they're both looking to get back in the win column. Both of them have wins in the submission, but by submission, but I mean GM3, 29 wins. But Tavares has never been submitted. So if they stay on the feet, Tavares has the upper hand, I think. But I mean, Mearshart can strike as well. But if they get on the ground, Mearshart is just a fucking animal and super hard to beat down there. So that should be something for Tavares to look out for, and we'll see if Mearshart can make his way down there to get that win, or if Tavares is gonna be able to get his first win in his last 3 to get back in that win column. So let's move on to the next fight. Cortavius Ramius versus Chang Ho Lee, and this is in the men's bantamweight division. Ramius making his debut in the UFC. Chang Ho Lee's only had 1 fight in the UFC there. 9-3 overall for Ramius, 10-1 for Chang Ho Lee. Submissions, neither one of them has ever been submitted. Lee's never been KO'd or TKO'd. He's got 4 wins there, 2 wins by sub and 4-1 by decision. And Ramius is 2-1 by KO, TKO, 5-0 by sub, 2-2 by decision. Ramius coming off a loss, and Chang Ho Lee is on a 4-fight win streak. That might be wrong because who cares? Because he technically he's on a 1-fight win. He's coming off a win because he's only had the 1 fight in the UFC, but he is on a 4-fight win streak because he had 3 other wins on the road to the UFC leading up to his debut here. So he is on a 4-fight win streak, and let's see, he's got his last win his 1 win in the UFC was over Long Zhao, and that was a split decision win back in June of last year. Ramius is making his debut in the UFC, but he is coming. Oh no, what? How is he 0-1? Man, this doesn't make any sense. Let's see. He must have been in the UFC. No, he is 0-1. That's right. Okay. So he's 0-1, losing to Gaston Belanos back in November of last year. I'm just mixing myself up. But he fought twice on the Contender Series as well. He had 1 loss and 1 win there. So this should be a good fight with a couple guys that have only fought once in the UFC. And that leads us over to a fun fight. Should be a fun fight between Pat Sabatini versus Joanderson Brito. This is the co-main event happening in the men's featherweight division. And we got Sabatini 19-5 overall, 6-2 in the UFC. 1-3 by KO TKO. Not good there, but look at the submissions. 13-0. That's a hell of a record there in that column. And then you got 5-2 by decision. He's coming off a win. Joanderson Brito 17-4 overall, 5-2 in the UFC. 7-1 by KO TKO, 8-1 by sub, 2-2 by decision. Obviously Brito has the upper hand in the KO TKO column, but look at that, 13-0 subs for Sabatini. So he's a killer on the ground. So Brito's got to watch out for that. But if it stays on the feet or goes to decision, it looks like Brito has the upper hand for that one. Here you got Sabatini with a kick, and of course one of those submissions out of the many that he's had. Let's take a look at who he won in his last fight. He's had a couple grappling matches in CFFC, but his last fight in the UFC was a win over Jonathan Pierce by rear naked choke, which is what you see in this picture down here. Before that, he had a loss to Diego Lopez. So I mean, that's not a bad person to lose to. I mean, he's fighting for the title next. So let's take a look at Joanderson Brito. Good on the feet, but has good submissions as well. Let's take a look at who he is. Coming off a loss to William Gomez by split decision in September last year. Before that, he was on a pretty good win streak. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-fight win streak with wins over Andre Feely, Lucas Alexander, Weston Wilson, Jonathan Pierce, and Jack Shore. Couple performance of the night bonuses there as well, and all of those being finishes, including a doctor stoppage. So yeah, he's definitely got the striking down, because all of his finishes are by striking. So on the feet, Brito's got the upper hand. If it gets to the ground, Sabatini's definitely got the upper hand on that one. So this should be a fun fight for the co-main event. Let's look at the main event. Josh Emmett versus Lerone Murphy. I feel like this should be a pretty fun fight too. I mean, Josh Emmett is a fucking killer, man. Those hands are heavy as hell. And as we've seen him do to Bryce Mitchell in the past, he can just fucking spark you and knock you out cold. And it's violent. So you got to watch out for Josh Emmett with those heavy hands, and those just the fucking crazy strikes, and the power that he has is insane. So Lerone Murphy's definitely got to pay attention and be careful for that. But Murphy is undefeated, 15-0. While Josh Emmett's coming off a win over Bryce Mitchell, like I said, that nasty KO that he had over him. That was in 2023. So Emmett didn't fight at all last year, but he kind of does that. He has some time in between, even though in 23 he did fight a lot in 23, but in 22, 21 he only had one fight in each of those years. So, and didn't fight at all in 2024. So but Lerone Murphy, well, let's see, he's 10-4 overall, or 19-4 overall, 10-4 in the UFC. 7-1 by KO TKO, 2-1 by sub, 10-2 by decision. Coming off that win over Bryce Mitchell. Like I said, Lerone Murphy's 15-0 overall, 7-0 in the UFC. 7-0 by KO TKO. No wins or losses in the submission category, and 8 wins by decision. He's on a 7-fight win streak with those 7 wins in the UFC. Let's take a look at his opponents in the UFC. Dan Ige, Edson Barbosa, Josh Kulabau, Gabriel Santos, Makwan Amirkhani, Douglas Silva de Andrade, Ricardo Ramos. I mean, he's got some big wins in the UFC. All names that are recognizable at least. So, yeah, I mean, Lerone Murphy's the truth, and we'll see how he matches up against that power of Josh Emmett. I mean, he has not been knocked out or TKO'd at all, considering he's undefeated, obviously, and he's got the same amount of wins in that column as well as Josh Emmett. Emmett's only got 2 more wins by decision over him, and only 2 more subs over him as well. So somewhat evenly matched, I would say, except Josh Emmett has that just lights out power that you definitely have to be careful for. As you can see here by these punches landed and the faces on his opponents. And then you can see that big knockout in the bottom picture there of Bryce Mitchell when everyone thought he died. It was like, Josh Emmett just killed a man. But no, I mean, Bryce Mitchell was fucking out cold, convulsing on the ground, and it took him a couple minutes to really get him up and on a stool. So it was a scary ass knockout. And while a lot of people think he deserved that because of the stupid shit that he says, it was still pretty scary to see him sitting on the ground like that and convulsing. And yeah, just proves the power of Josh Emmett and the accuracy of his punches. So Lerone Murphy's got to watch out for that, as well as, you know, try to find a way to land some good strikes on Josh Emmett, because he either goes to decision or he wins by KO TKO. He has no wins or losses by submission. So we'll see where this fight goes. If it stays on the feet, who can get the upper hand, because they both have power, but Emmett is just crazy power. So if he can find his way in and land a good punch, we'll see if Lerone Murphy's chin can hold up, and or if he can be fast enough to dodge it. So let's wrap it up here. That's your fight night for UFC Vegas 105 at the Apex this weekend on Saturday. Let's take a look at what the Fight Wheel has for us as far as predictions for the main event. Did I fix that? Yes, I did. Okay, so last week it looked like we only had two losses coming from the Fight Wheel. So the Fight Wheel's got on a 2-week win streak here, because there's only, I think it was 4-2 in the past 2 weeks for both nights. So 8-4 overall. Before that, it had a horrible losing record. There was the two times before that I did it, I was like 2-4. So I'm having the Fight Wheel pick fights because I suck at betting and I suck at picking fights apparently. It just seems like I curse it or something. I can bet a bunch of stuff on a parlay and one fight will lose everything. So, and I know that's how parlays work, but I just can't seem to get good luck in betting. So I have the Fight Wheel predict fights, and I just think it's a fun way to do it. So let's get started, and let's see what the Fight Wheel is predicting for the 6 fights for UFC Vegas 105, happening obviously in Vegas this weekend. Here we go. Let's see what the Fight Wheel gives us for the first fight pick of the night. And it looks like Robert Valentine is going to get the win over who the hell is his opponent? Torres Finney. So Valentine getting the win over the undefeated Finney in the first fight of the main card. Let's go and see who else we got for winners predicted by the Fight Wheel. The GRP Fight Wheel. Chang Ho Lee getting the win over who is his opponent? Oh, Ramius. That's right. Shit. I just lost. Oh man, where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Okay. So Ramius is, let me get these out of here. Where is it? Chang Ho Lee is the winner there over Ramius. Let's see what the Fight Wheel has next. Who will be the next winner predicted by the Fight Wheel? Looks like Brad Tavares is going to be GM3 Gerald Mearshart. That should be a good fight, so that's a hell of a prediction there. We'll see how that one goes. Let's take those two guys out and see who's next for the Fight Wheel prediction to win at UFC Vegas 105. Looks like Luis Gurul will beat Ode Osborne, according to the Fight Wheel. Let's take those names out. All right, 2 more fights. Main event, co-main event. Oddly enough, that's the way it ended up. Let's see who gets the first win. And it looks like the co-main, Joanderson Brito, will beat Pat Sabatini according to the fight wheel. So now we got 1 fight left, and that's the main event. And let's see what the fight wheel predicts for the winner of UFC Vegas 105 happening Saturday night. Lerone Murphy, undefeated Lerone Murphy, will keep that undefeated record by beating Josh Emmett according to the fight wheel, who has been 4-2 for 2 weeks in a row. So a winning record for the fight wheel predictions for the past 2 weeks. So that wraps it up for UFC Vegas 105. The fight wheel predictions. We'll see if the fight wheel can keep it up. And yeah, that does it for me. So I appreciate everybody who joined in. Christian, Patty ML, a little bit. Huh? Oh, Patty money line, Lopez money line. UFC 314 will be nice for parlays. Oh yeah, Christian. Man, I hope so. Fucking I need to get some wins on some parlays, and I only bet on the pay-per-views these days because I just suck at everything else. So I don't waste my money, and I just do it for the pay-per-views so that we have something to talk about during the watch parties. So Patty money line, Lopez money line. All right. I'll keep that in mind, Christian. We'll see what you have for us. Actually, we're not going to be doing the watch party this UFC pay-per-view, unfortunately, because I'll be doing white people shit, remember? But anyway, enjoy the fights this weekend. PFL is still going. Koreshkov versus Jackson is still happening right as we speak. We got 2 minutes and 20 seconds left of the second round. It looks like Jackson's on top of Koreshkov at the moment on the ground. But we got 2 BKFC events going on. 1 tomorrow night, 1 Saturday night. I think we have 1 championship at some point this weekend. And also UFC Vegas 105 happening Saturday night at the Apex. You can watch that on ESPN Plus, whatever. The prelims start at 3 p.m. Arizona time, and the main card starts at 6 p.m. So check it out. Enjoy the fights. That's it for me. I'm out of here. Come back next Thursday for a preview of UFC 314. That's it for me. I'm out of here. Take it easy. Peace.